Aloha, folks. My name's Trey, and today I'm going to talk about how creativity, to my mind, is the absolute proof of divinity.
Right here, right now. There is no other place I gotta be. Right here, right now. Helping the world to wake up from history.
Creativity is absolute proof of divinity to me, man, and it's a delight to make this video because it's something I felt, ever since I was gifted old Blackie from past lives of being a musician, and my mom put her name in the hat when I was, 10, 11 years old. The music store moved to an old Sears department or Pools department building, and a bunch of bands, and the grand prize was a 1989 black Les Paul you see in some of my videos there, and I won, and I was kind of afraid to touch her for a few weeks, and I even broke her neck twice after playing her every day for 20 years after a while, but almost that long. And so 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And so writing songs, jamming music with people, making paintings. Of course, when I thought I was in love with somebody, or if I actually ever get to achieve the hierogamic union or reproduce, ideally, that is the most obvious, way that humans can experience divine creativity, by reproducing, or but of course, if your mate is not aware, you're going to suffer. So, and if you're not aware, you're going to suffer. So, but actually creating anything, making a drawing, a doodle, a poem, having a expansive conversation that helps you to wake up, all these things, to me, are example of the divine gift of free will, and getting to experience the Creator. And it's the quickest way, the path to God, I always said, and that's why it can't exist in normies if you left it up to the fake ass controllers. How you're doing, and how you're doing, in your inner journey. Because if you can't be creative, you can't really experience. From my guess is you can't really experience the almighty force of Creator if you can't create. So, if we were really made in the image of Christ Sophia and given the massive gift of free will, as I always say, this most amazing, awesome, benevolent gift, where is the evidence for this gift of free will? Where is the evidence? The subtitle for this video could be the quickest path to God in many words. As capitalism was forced, love or sex or reproduction and so-called love and creativity became monetized in those spaces, and that it was in almost everywhere. So look no further if you want evidence of. If you're one of these idiots who calls yourself an atheist, look no further for evidence of a divine being that gave us free will than a good artist, an inventor who makes a beautiful and harmless invention, or a musician. Writing or pulling down or channeling a tune, a good song, is an unexplainable and unbelievably amazing feeling that I could experience, but I couldn't actually explain it to you. Of course, there's been many that, several that I felt like that were decent, that it came through me. A lot of the times it was the classic formula of the infatuation or the soulmate perception, having this woman girl that I was so wild about in my life. Of course, like I say, that could be, you could say that as a projection. So, or also a good healer or artisan. Anyone that makes things with their hands, that makes a living or creates a balanced trade by sharing, creating, making things, if it's harmless. I really do feel that these are amongst the highest forms of channeling humans could experience. Again, besides reproducing bringing a brilliant soul in, or, any form of creativity. Again, it's the quickest path to feeling the Almighty now. And so, particularly one that's co-creative, like dancing or a band, jamming. For those folks have walked the quickest path into the real mind of God, actually making art, or yourself, or music, or jamming, you'll know exactly where and how God works. The real creator, the Almighty, the divine Christ Sophia that gave us free will. Because she loves for us to experiment harmlessly with creating. Unless it harms someone. If it harms yourself or anyone else, when you're making stuff, then you're embodying Lucifer. So the answer is actually an Aboriginal commandment. Be creative every day. This video was inspired partially by the talented and beautiful psychic healer Agvil Seva, after listening to her describe how to use your creativity to get rid of entities. I mean, shamanism, if you look into a good shaman, it's really a healing art form that can become 96% creative. Because creativity is an inherent aspect of a living soul. We often make excuses why we can't be creative. I never could do that. Of course, the person with the lower IQ or the heavily mind-controlled person, it'll be due to fear or trauma, sexual or verbal or physical abuse that they received as a child often. But overtly it'll come out as, I don't have time. I got to go to work. I got to go to work at Burger King or Safeway, and I don't have time. Or it's inspiration. I'll tell myself, because I have horrible depression, I don't feel inspired to do it, or anxiety, or I'm afraid, or I don't want to make anything because I'm scared. And again, it's the archons trying to influence me to be the idiot they want me to be, to feed on, but that's not who I am, right? So when you realize the real I am, the real Christ, the divine being who made all things, is really within all of us, then you realize if you're not going to harm anyone else, you're free when you get off work. If you have a 9 to 5, if you don't get to be creative in your job, and those people that do pay all their bills with their creativity and use their creativity in their jobs, they're living the dream. They're able to balance capitalism, the insanity of the beast. What I would say, they're doing the right thing, the harmonious, respectful, appropriate action for their situation if they're in a capitalist place, earning money with their creativity, if they're not hurting anyone. So it was actually an Aboriginal commandment. So last night I was watching Agville live here at this camp, and she was talking about different creative ways to destroy ghosts or archonic or evil spirits when they're attached to you. And at one point she said you can get out a baseball bat and beat it, and she laughed. She was joking, but I just love the creative aspect. And it is very important to understand that, yes, all spirit possessions are actually, people actually made them up. or they allowed them in, you could say. They might be, perhaps they were empath, or again, they were traumatized, sexually abused, and or they were just in a place like this that's heavily full of evil or stupid idiot ghosts and evil spirits, and some got in, and so it's an actual problem that the scientism death cult that profits off. They want to pump you full of drugs and deny that the problem. Of course, antipsychotics might actually make you more spiritually possessed by these evil spirits. So again, it's a wholly vicious Ouroboros until you wake up. But being creative is actually the proper way to handle the human condition. But again, you have to have boundaries and self-respect and discernment and harmlessness, or you're going to fuck up. So I found it really interesting when I read this book about ayahuasca, and the writer said that many of the ayahuasca shamans, they could make a similarly, they would have a vastly different amount of potency, he said, on the different shamans. Some would be really weak and some would be really strong, but he said even more than that, that their effectiveness in healing people was due to the quality of their song. And so I thought that was really, really, really potently beautiful and perfectly poignant for 4 P points for you there. So the ayahuasca ceremony's effectiveness was based on the amount of power in the songs. So reproduction is an obvious form of creativity where you can feel God, reproducing. A tantric heterosexual, or even maybe a homosexual hierogamic is less obvious in the 3D, but can become overtly creative in the second bardo, or pre-creation phase, or inspiration and infatuation or energetic basis for art. So so even if you don't have any children, if you have a divine soulmate partner that you fully are harmonized with, who's not abusive, this can lead to all types of creative acts. A lot of people run businesses together with their spouse and do a really good job if they both love what they're doing. So, and a lot of people like myself have written some of their better creations when they were extremely inspired by their someone they loved. So cannabis can mimic this, or like the idea that people are married to ganja. You could say in a way it could become a tragedy if they go the wrong way with it. But if they have cancer or some other deadly disease, or more than one deadly disease, it can be amazing. If you have natural creative talents and you're dying of illness, or you're depressed, you don't feel shit, to partake in a balanced, respectful usage of cannabis and get back into your creativity. And that's another way. Another one is it's decriminalized in this town. Psilocybin is a wonderful way to get back in touch with your creativity. Cannabis or ganja can mimic the inspiration you might feel for the woman, or be a reflection of your own inner inspiration, or your own inner goddess within all of nature itself, or lifetime. Plant medicines can be a great help, but to experience creativity does require discipline, practice, repetition. I mean, to be any good at it, to enjoy it, you can't just try it once. Practice, repetition, devotion, and courage to even be accessed by some people. Some folks can't even access their creativity unless they overcome these insane mental blocks that the Decepticons put in them to be a slave. Slave think. Imagine the sick audacity of Inky or Lucifer when when he first discovered our ancestors. Oh, look, this the divine Namulu human Christos race. They're just big fleshy worms and with higher IQs and free wills, and they're gullible, they're good natured, they're based in the heart. You know what? I'm going to make these little junior gods into soulless slaves. Eventually, I'll start out by unplugging their DNA and making them my slave for gold or my slave for energy. So, imagine the audacity. Imagine the narcissistic, predatory, ridiculous, pathological insanity that this being had, that many of you, some of you still think is God. To take these amazing, extremely powerful, creative beings and say, oh, these will make great slaves. I'll just unplug their conception of their divinity. I'll make sure that they don't know they're the divinity when I make myself into the divinity, and they have to do what I say, and I'll impose this patriarchal system on them and bring up the rent. You know, the whole thing is a control. And look how well it worked, man. Look how many people are creative. Well, I'm telling you, folks, by the time this spirit speaking to you now leaves this flesh suit, maybe I'm optimistic. Maybe it'll be a decade after that. At some point soon, by the year 2100, shall we say, okay? For a late, it's going to be before that, I'm guessing, you know, like maybe 2042. Every single human on the planet Earth is going to remember this Aboriginal idea. Plant medicines can be a great help, but to experience creativity does require discipline, practice, repetition, devotion, and courage to even be accessed by some. For look how well the vampire destroyer angels did in convincing many humans they are only 3D flesh suit financial slaves without creativity. It's like, what the flunk? How could they be so ignorant? This is why I was like, why did I come to this planet? You know, it's like, well, I guess to make this video is one of the reasons. So the obvious two main reasons this proof of God within was wiped out in the masses through wars and led to box slavery into the matrix grip of the fake Glock of time, pushing the cortisol up so high that, you know, most humanoids are caught in the fight or flight in a state of fear-based existential survival after millions of years of trauma bonding with our violent money magic wielding junior gods through wars, satanic ritual abuse, and coercion. Aren't they brilliant? If evil could be brilliant, okay? Really, truthfully, honestly, we are powerful co-creators, okay? We are powerful, multi-dimensional child or junior gods ourselves, okay? So how could Lucifer be both so morally retarded and as well so powerfully talented at mind controlling and unplugging us to turn junior gods into 3D slaves? That is what I attempt to answer in many of these videos and many other dozens of researchers and truth tellers in YouTube and Rumble and Odyssey as well, okay? But again, just like the idea I'm saying here, that we can still be creative and have free will to some level, it's proof that there is a original creator who is good and respectful, and it is again the quickest path is to make something that's not going to harm anyone. So wars led to box slavery and the matrix death grip of the Glock of time, pushing the cortisol up so high most are caught in a state of fear-based existential survival after millions of years of trauma bonding, okay? So now Now that ganja or cannabis and shrooms are legal or becoming legal, we have more and more and more and more things you can learn on YouTube and other online resources, more meditation and healing techniques and plant medicine paths available to you exponentially, it seems now, to wake up here. Many, many different ways that you can use plant medicines, meditations, discernment, Gnostic awareness to get your head out of your ass, to get your head out of Lucifer's garbage plans. However, convincing the majority that 96% of our minds or brains or our DNA and our divine skills are that 96% of our minds and brains that are divine skills and creativity are junk. They call it junk DNA. After unplugging almost all of our DNA a long time ago, millions of years ago, okay? In short, it took a tremendous amount of long-term planetary imprisonment, physically and psychologically, after millions of years, wars, drinking our blood, killing us, traumatizing us. The real gods were terrified. The real gods, meaning the humanoids, the original Namulu race, were terrified into obedient and dumbed down through Enki or Lucifer's experimentations, were terrified into obedient, sick, dumb, fearful slaves to survival. And pathological egos. In other words, getting totally manipulated and distorted and controlled by all these spiritual morons who have horrible NPD or NPEs. This system is not divine. Wake up call, folks. The junior god, the patriarchy, doesn't even respect themselves, let alone you. If they did, they wouldn't insist on making it cold today because they can't have more than a few days of the perfect Santa Cruz 75 or 80 degree sexy. How dare they? Some of these graduate students, they might reproduce. How dare they? Well, they took all their boosters. You shouldn't have anything to be afraid of. This system is not divine. All of the matrix, the artificial system, is a control by disrespectful junior gods. But guess what, folks? The real you, the real planet, or before it was hijacked, even the planet Saturn before they put the machinery in the middle of that, the real you was, is, and can become aware that we are all an equal portion of the real creator. The hierarchy came, the whole entire concept of hierarchy descended from the inverted Decepticons they call the reptilian race. The reptilians brought the hierarchy. The Anunnakis brought the hierarchy. You know, if there is any kind of hierarchy, again, in the divine planes, you know, it's only a matter of purity. You know, you could easily argue that the more pure, the more respectful, the more aware the beings are to not harm anyone, you know, they could be higher or closer to the Divine Mother Christ Sophia, but she doesn't play these stupid games. And she's not going to tell you you're unworthy, you know, because you made a few flaws. You've got to be a slave a whole nother lifetime. No, that's the junior gods, okay, the fake gods, okay. But we are all, including Lucifer, including Bill Gates, we are all an equal portion of the real creator. Because we were all given free will. We were all given a chance. We were all given this divine gift. And then they attempted to terrify all of us out of it. And some, like the 1% criminal robber barons, you can pretty much bet your sweet bippy, don't really have free will anymore. Everything they do has to harm someone. Is George W. Bush from an Illuminati bloodline of terrorists? Why are the most despicable, evil, even openly evil like George Soros, so-called people in charge of government, business, tech, and media? Why do they put the most disgusting, why the most disgusting, narcissistic, psychopathic scum rise to the top, run the media, and try to convince you to be like them? Why is there no morality amongst them? Why is it that only an Illuminati member or a person who literally sells their soul to the devil can become wildly successful in the entertainment business? Why is it almost no one can ever make a living as a musician or artist? Why does the average person think this stupid thought, oh, I could never make a living as a musician? All of these ideas are trashy, violent, Luciferian inversions of the truth. Like for example, that artists must promote vampirism or psychopathy. That is an obvious mind control lever. Okay, it's a mind control lever that I've got to be a psychopathic, narcissistic piece of garbage because I'm a good musician. Okay, the mainstream media's music is an obvious mind control lever. The second reason, apart from stress and supposed workability, is that all creative people must be totally or mostly insane. The second reason you're going to be dumb enough to believe this, if you were, is that creative people have to be insane. There's no way you could make a living as a creative person. Like I say, I could survive at least. I mean, I made dinner money as a one-man band, but you'd have to be totally insane to even attempt to do that. Really, all creative people must be totally or mostly insane, unhinged, or out of their minds. It's too dangerous or suicidal to create. You'll get killed or you'll get ostracized. You'll get hated. All these normie slaves will be jealous of you. Psh, of course. So it takes some courage. Perfect idea to keep you in that cookie cutter, humanoid, slave bot mold. And making the weather almost frigidly cold is a perfect way to prevent me from going out there and playing a set of music in the sunshine when there is no access to it. Okay? You can tell, man, like I say, the dark side do a lot to control everything, and sometimes it works temporarily. I read this story in a magazine, or I forgot where it was, about this guy who was an actor in a traveling actors thing for children, or a comedy thing. I forgot, some kind of traveling actors troupe. And he said a lot of the guys in the actor, it was about how more people are homosexual in Hollywood or in the actors circles. And anyway, he just said that wherever they traveled around the USA, the mannerisms of homosexuals, whatever their accent, their accent might be different, but he said that they'd have the exact same mannerisms everywhere, which I thought that was a very, very interesting point. So, for example, woke indoctrination or political correctness, or controlling people with fear, or wage slavery, and all types of mind control, all can work to terrify, distract, circumvent you from ever getting to experience a moment of being a creator. Because you've got to remember all these scripts. It's going to take, I couldn't even, honestly, folks, like if I had to remember all the points of those scripts, I don't know if I could do it. And you know what? Unless I do the shadow work on this series, itself, in other words, fully engage in making this, 105, doing my best, 105% to promote this show and do my best with it. Actually do shadow work on this show. It's, it's a strong possibility that only some Russian strangers can make money off this, unless my new agent helps me up, as much as they claim they will. So all YouTubers with millions of subscribers can, they can tell you the truth, But as I've said before, in a very controlled, or often very controlled or self-censored way, or they're one of the chosen ones who was already famous. Usually they're always already famous, or so like Russell Brand, they could tell you the truth, a little bit that will help, probably only minimally. Because to Alphabet/YouTube, or what I call the Alphabet CIA or Alphabet Google CIA YouTube Corporation, money is still power. No matter how violent and stupid of an idea, no matter how violent and stupid a god the ruler figure Mammon actually is, since he has no brains. There's a reason why they depict the god of money as with having huge muscles and no brains. And I could tell you spiritually, and when it comes to heart awareness and love and morality, the demiurge, or Lucifer, you could also say in a way has no brains, although they're masters of mind control. When it comes to heart awareness or true morality, they have no brains. So knowing how headless a god the ruler figure Mammon actually is, since he has no brains, then maybe you could see how dumb of an idea it is to worship this religion of money. Lady Gaga and Katy Perry shall be what you think of as artists or royalty also, as long as you obey this shitty idea. Like money is power, and Hollywood is real art. In the sequel to the book of called the Mutant Message from Down Under, which that first book was a really wonderful story. A blonde-headed lady from New York City, on her 50th birthday, had a dream that she had to go to Australia and do a walkabout with the Aboriginals, and she did. And the Aboriginal shamans, took her into the sacred cave in Ayers Rock and told her a bunch of things they never told a blonde, and said, "We've been waiting for you." And the sequel was called The Mutant Message from Forever, and it was a fictional story. But the thing I really liked about the sequel is she listed the Aboriginals' 10 Commandments, the First People's 10 Commandments. And guess what? One of those commandments was be creative every day. So the Aboriginals call us mutants because we have one more chromosome, or 46 or 47. We have one more chromosome than them. And you know what that is? That's the crazy, white, alien, abstract, mathematical, Anunnaki, psycho gene, extra gene that Lucifer put in us. The part of it that you could say was constructive, that gave us this abstract, whitey abstract thinking, but to our downfall, because it also makes us actually believe in this atomization, believe in the primacy of ego, believe in the ludicrosity of solipsism is a okay reality for someone who's a little dumb. Okay. Without this, I have a friend who spent several days with Aboriginal shamans, and he told me that they could actually instantly go into the dream time, or what the Tibetans call the second bardo, or the Akashic, and do psychic work in the spiritual dimension, like go into a trance like that. Like what would take a master, Kriya Yoga master, several years to master, they can just inherently, because they lack that chromosome. And also they feel the oneness. They don't need me to explain spiritual kindergarten in first grade to them like some of you did. Some of you who are truly open-minded, I'm really thankful for you, man, because you helped me to on the selfish level, to create, to destroy some of my negative karma and get on the dharmic path here. Helping others, serving others is the path. Okay, so so it was one of the original people's 10 Commandments. I love that. Be creative every day. It was the one that stuck out the most out of the commandments, because it was in my heart to be creative every day. As I identified as an artist, it's one of those ID cards that for me is not a fake ID card. It's a true ID card, because As a person who is somewhat awake, I'm aware that, even if it's a friendly, expansive conversation, I have to, because I am alive. Even if I'm depressed or suffering from horrible physical illness, and only marginally alive and suffering from physical horrible pain, some act of creativity, expressing the pain creatively, etc., is essential to the healing of that pain, especially. So, but look around, okay? The Antichrist is anti-life. What's the space between the band called the Misfits and Hempress Sativa? A vast, huge, massive gamut of a range of intention, of course. Intention is everything in entertainment. The Antichrist is anti-life. In control of the human farm and soul recycling, memory wipe, permanent human prison and slave camp we call the world. And of course, Hollywood is a huge, it's the fifth branch. It's the fifth branch of the government. It's a huge control gadget. It's a huge control gadget for the dark side. So in this death-centric atrocity or this death cult we call modern culture, in this death-centric atrocity we call the modern civilization, the vast majority have nothing to do with creativity. Even though we are obviously creative beings by nature, giving the greatest gift of all, free will. Imagine that. Think about that. Just think about that. If you don't think I'm joking when I say that most humans are in a death-based cult of all sorts to recycle their souls, and then think about that. If they don't even know that they have free will at all, what more proof do you have that Lucifer is a horribly violent psychopath who is masterfully talented at 3D mind control, that you and me and if we all collectively agree to human slavery, how deep it goes into our psyches that people really think they don't have creativity, and how we really are made in the image of the divine Christ. In control of the human farm and soul recycling, memory wipe, permanent human prison plant and slave camp we call the world, in this death-centric atrocity we call the modern civilization, the vast majority have nothing to do with creativity, even though we are obviously creative beings, given the greatest gift of all, free will. But that is an old delusion that can be programmed out, according to Yuval, Klaus Schwab's spokesperson, number one, and Nancy Pelosi says, that the Constitution is passé, and, they both promote this insane psychopathic idea that freedom and creativity are tongue-in-cheek jokes for our false, to our false gods, to these ardent followers of our false gods. It's a tongue-in-cheek joke. They are a huge part of reality to the awakened, however. Not just artists and musicians, but shamans, herbalists, cooks, psychologists, even some athletes, and even Buddhist masters. They all utilize creativity as an essential component of mastery. As we see the societal imposition of the shot callers and the continued attempted reigning death grip of the advice grip of the fallen Decepticons, fake control over everything, and including the weather and what you're going to think about this video if they can. And choosers, just like it was in Hollywood in a watered down version, we are allowed now in 2024, especially since under the Obama administration they've re-legalized propaganda through media, through the big boys controlled online platforms. In other words, the online platforms that certain big boy individuals control, to learn a trickle-down Chinese water torture style disclosure about the truth about the aliens, the ETs, the divinity, free will, government, evil, and our maker. But each speaker was chosen and vetted, of course, often from the planetary warden chosen race lines, often brilliant in helping. Most of these gatekeeper speakers, or who have lots of followers, are often brilliant at helping to maintain the illusion of free will while siloing you into the controlled opposition, such as Q or Mr. T. Mr. T's I'm going to come save you camp, for example. Those who use their creativity to wake up others who were not previously famous or inciting war will be minimized. In other words, because I'm not going to do anything to incite war, especially because I'm promoting and preaching peace, that I will be minimized. He that's not busy being born is busy dying, said Bob Dylan in one song. You either create or are created, Geraldine Orozco said in a video I was watching today. She's another example of someone who shows me that I do not have NPD, because she does the exact same thing I do here way better than me, and I'll admit it. But she got a degree in psychology and learned how to use PowerPoint, but she's also a really sexy looking 40-year-old woman, Latina, so, she also has that to go, further than I can as far as the magnetism factor. So, Goddess bless her. I love you, and you are certainly part of the inspiration for this video and many of my videos. So Lucifer and all the other dark ET junior gods, for their Niagara Falls attempted and tragically successful style of loose feeding, drip system, loose feeding water system, they need endless wars, endless psychological trauma with this insane NPD epidemic, and for the majority of us to have been coerced, tortured, or terrified out of our divine creativity. It's really sad and tragic when you look at how much of a great job the dark side did in this, man. And yes, they did kill a lot of people and torture a lot of people, run a lot of wars, physically beat and enslave millions of people to make the world the way it is this way. But that doesn't mean that it's their planet. That doesn't mean we should just bend over and let them take every single one of our bodies and the whole planet. No, that's the opposite of the truth. So peacefully, we need civil disobedience, as Thoreau called it. So when you can see this, how fucking sick this is, and that everyone is really naturally creative, I would wager to say, or maybe 96% of souls. So just like 90 to 96% of souls probably need a sexual partner, So, having people being told that it is an illusion, impossible, and dangerous. For if you know the truth about the globe can become a sacred, clean, respectful, organic garden and true living center, which is what makes UCSC over here really supremely ironic and sad and pathetic and wonderful, because it has 3 organic gardens and they teach students that, and it has the only food co-op in Santa Cruz, but they also forced all the students to take all their shots and boosters. So If you know the truth about free will and creativity, of course, is what I'm saying, that this planet can become a sacred, divine, clean, respectful, organic garden and true learning center for the multiverse is what's going to be in the age of light, fully awake and freed. The demon controllers will be starved of loosh and blood, fully frozen, turning back into shadows, turning back into beings that have no real powers when humanity wakes up, when the aggregate of the majority or 51% wake up from this deception, then this planet goes back into being the divine garden, not this forced to be cold, ice cold, nucleated, dumped place. Okay? The devil, the dark side will become frozen and lose all their like a tick. They will lose. They will just have to be deprived of their blood they're sucking out of us, which is their only source. They need the divine Namulu race to have any energy, because they're vampires. They don't have any of their own. So when we act as, not moral relativity, but like I would, if you, I believe our brains need cholesterol. So say if you get all of your eggs and all of your dairy from dairy farmers and egg farmers who have full respect and don't torture their animals, so you're not really causing any harm. None of my teachings really involve causing harm to other sentient beings, if you consider it from that spot, except I do eat a little fish. So in that sense, besides killing fish, but basically what I'm saying is, if you're mostly, as much as possible harmless, and you do not harm other people, if you are harmless, respectful creators, we really are co-creators with the divine Almighty, and war is really over. Okay? If you are still mostly unbegun, as the Satanists told Mark Passio they call it, if you're just a normie, obedient slave idiot, do the shadow work the best you can, and then hold a vision. And make sure, like it took me 7 years to actually make dinner money as a one-man band, but you know what? Don't ever give up until you've achieved your goal. If you really want it, do the best you can to hold the vision, sculpt the hologram of your art, and excavate the details. Carve out the details of your beautiful sculpture, of your art, harmless, respectful art form, and carve out the details better than the devil ever could, so that he can't get in there. And in truth, as an artist who is also devoted to art and also truth, my experience, like half a dozen other people on YouTube, you'll find, has been a kind of hero's journey of awakening. Like I was watching Alanis Morissette talk about narcissism. Roseanne Barr has a very interesting transpersonal relationship with her audience, where she gives them some truth, helps them to empower into the truth, and makes money off telling jokes, but in a way that's empowering. Now, of course, she's of the chosen race, but it's a beautiful, interesting thing to me to see how she has a very interesting relationship with her audience, where she helps them to glean wisdom while she makes them laugh. It's not just making money off comedy. So she can actually feel the oneness to some degree on a massive level by helping them, as in somewhat effective sacred clown. I felt it on the microcosmic level a little bit here and there. So, being from a Freemason family, I put on mascara and lipstick and used hairspray to tease up my hair. In my stonewashed, ripped jeans. I think I was 10, 11, or 12 years old in the 1980s. Before I got busted with Marlboros, a pack of Marlboro cigarettes by my mom right after that. She was horrified. And pretty soon after that, I joined a pop metal band, and then a pop punk band when I was 14, and I even had a zine, a personal zine. that I did an honor system and sold in a few stores, record shops, and bookstores around town. From that age all the way to exposing and divulging the entirety, as much as I understand it in my minuscule childish understanding of our massively powerful mind control operations that surround us, all the way to exposing and divulging the entirety of the architecture of it all as I see it from a Cliff's Notes perspective, basically, first grade perspective. From music to learning to teaching, and all creative acts actually are our goddess-given, amazing birthright and journey of awakening to the true, real Creator, the Christ Goddess Sophia within us all. And it has truly been a fantastic and wonderful thing, and I'm supremely thankful to my real creators, as well as my fleshy, mortal creators, Laurie and Earl and their parents, and on down the bloodline, for this gift, for this chance to have this spirit in this body speaking to you in this little microphone into this old Lenovo IdeaPad, through the amazing Tesla invented 130-year-old gadget of Wi-Fi, this invisible powerhouse technology, and help you and myself to reclaim our etheric headspace, to reclaim ourselves from the dungeon masters of mind control through discernment, through awareness, through learning, and through the creativity of making up videos, writing down the notes, and making up ideas. If you haven't already, make sure to click on the subscribe. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, click on the notification bell for more notifications, and follow me on Odyssey or Rumble if you're ready for a more bloody red pill with a few more sick details I can't say on YouTube. And you know what, folks? The most predictable thing in this video, beside what I just said, of course, is, if you have the courage. And today's title, it's more of a benevolent Ouroboros. Of course, it goes back to the title of this video, is how I always end my videos, because I want to encourage this ancient future truism that's really harmless, respectful, and real. Create a great one, my family.